Everyone stood up when the alien Empress arrived, except a human. The reason for this was surprising. The Grand Hall of the Interstellar Council shimmered with light from thousands of stars visible through the translucent dome above. Delegates from countless worlds had gathered, each species bringing its own traditions, colors, and gestures of respect. Tall beings with glowing skin, creatures that floated without legs, and those covered in intricate scales filled the space. All eyes were on the central entrance, waiting for the arrival of the one being who commanded the attention of the entire galaxy, the alien Empress. When the doors opened, a hush swept over the crowd. The Empress entered, her presence almost blinding. She was taller than most humans, with long limbs and a flowing metallic robe that reflected the light in rainbow hues. Her head was adorned with a crown that seemed alive, moving subtly with her thoughts. Her eyes, large and luminous, swept across the hall with a calm authority. Every movement she made exuded grace and power. Immediately, the delegates rose. It was a tradition across galaxies. All beings stood when the Empress arrived. Even those who were skeptical or stubborn obeyed this universal sign of respect. Their eyes bowed, their bodies straightened, and the room was filled with a wave of acknowledgement toward the Empress. All except one. At the back of the hall, near the human delegation, stood Ethan Carter. He was a young explorer, only 28, with dark hair and curious eyes. Unlike the others, he did not rise. He remained standing casually, hands resting at his sides. His gaze was steady, focused entirely on the Empress. Murmurs spread immediately. Some delegates whispered, "The human does not rise." Others shook their heads in disbelief. Some muttered about disrespect, ignorance, or even arrogance. A few leaned closer to their neighbors and said, "Surely it is a mistake. Humans are new. They may not know the rules." But Ethan was not ignorant. He had studied alien customs, history, and etiquette. He knew what he was supposed to do, yet he did not act. He had his reasons. From the front, the Empress noticed him immediately. She paused, tilting her head slightly, and studied the human who dared to defy tradition, not with hostility, but with quiet confidence. There was something unusual in his demeanor. Most beings would have been fearful, trembling even. Ethan seemed calm, attentive, almost curious. The Empress took her seat at the central throne. Her long fingers rested lightly on the armrests, and she surveyed the hall with eyes that seemed to see everything. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft yet powerful, resonating through the hall. "Welcome, delegates of the galaxies. We gather to discuss the matters that affect all worlds. Let our discussions be wise and productive." Despite the grandeur of the moment, Ethan remained still. His eyes did not leave her. A small alien with shimmering wings who represented a distant water world approached Ethan, whispering, "Human, why do you not rise? It is the custom of respect. Do you not fear angering the Empress?" Ethan smiled slightly, a calm expression. "I am not disrespecting her," he replied quietly. "I am observing. I see something that others do not. I will act when I understand fully." The alien blinked. "Observing in the presence of the Empress, that is unusual." Ethan nodded. "Perhaps, but it may also be valuable." Meanwhile, the Empress continued her opening remarks. She spoke of trade routes, shared technology, and interstellar peace. Every species listened carefully, taking notes, nodding respectfully, and preparing their arguments. All except Ethan. He listened too, but he was noticing the subtleties, the slight hesitation in the Empress's tone when discussing a particular planet. The way her crown dimmed slightly when she mentioned recent failures in colonization efforts. Small signs that most beings, dazzled by her power, would never notice. Finally, the formalities ended. The Empress stood, signaling the start of the Council's discussion. Delegates from different worlds stepped forward, presenting reports, statistics, and simulations. Each argument was met with nods or protests, but nothing seemed to satisfy the Empress. It was then that the issue arose, a problem that had baffled her entire empire. A newly discovered planet on the edge of explored space, rich in resources and potential, was proving impossible to colonize. Structures built by alien species collapsed unexpectedly. Advanced technology failed to function correctly. Even autonomous machines malfunctioned under the planet's unique conditions. The Empress's eyes narrowed slightly. "This planet," she said, her voice measured, "must be understood and used wisely. I invite any delegate who believes they can offer a solution to speak." Silence followed. Delegates looked at each other nervously. The planet had defeated many fleets and teams of scientists. Many species feared even attempting it. Then Ethan stepped forward. His voice was calm but clear, cutting through the tension. "I would like to offer a different perspective." The hall went silent. Heads turned. Whispers filled the room. "The human speaks. Does he know the risks? This is daring." Ethan continued, "Instead of imposing technology or structures, we should first observe the planet. Learn its patterns, understand its life forms, and adapt to it. Only then can we work with it successfully." The Empress raised an eyebrow. "You suggest patience over action?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan replied. "We need to work with the planet, not against it. Machines and calculations alone will not solve the problem. We must use creativity, observation, and intuition, qualities humans are skilled at." Some delegates scoffed. A tall being with crystalline skin said, "Intuition? Creativity? This is not enough to conquer a world. Only precision and power succeed." Ethan met the alien's gaze steadily. "Precision and power without understanding can fail. I have observed the planet from afar. There are patterns invisible to machines. If we study them carefully, we can succeed where others have failed." The Empress listened silently, her eyes thoughtful. Something about the human's approach intrigued her. She had expected fear, hesitance, or incompetence. Instead, she saw confidence without arrogance, respect without submission, and clarity in reasoning. After a long pause, she said, "Very well, you may lead a small delegation to the planet. Prove that your method works." Gasps filled the room. Many delegates could not believe it. A human so new, so untested, was being trusted to solve a problem that had baffled the entire council. Some felt resentment, others disbelief. Yet the Empress remained calm, her decision final. Ethan bowed slightly, not as a sign of fear, but as acknowledgement of responsibility. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "I will do my best." As the human delegation prepared, whispers continued through the hall. "Why did he not rise earlier? Why does he speak with such certainty? Perhaps humans are more capable than we thought." Even the alien who had questioned him before approached again. "Human, your courage is unusual. Most would have cowered before her. How do you maintain such calm?" Ethan smiled. "I respect her. I simply choose to respect in my own way. Actions, not appearances, define respect." The Empress watched silently, noting the human's words. She had seen many species try to impress with gestures and rituals. Few had the clarity to act based on thought rather than tradition. This human was different. Perhaps humans were a species worth observing more closely. As the council session ended for the day, Ethan looked around the hall one last time. The delegates whispered, the Empress's advisors watched curiously, and the stars outside the dome shone with distant possibilities. He knew the real challenge had only begun, the mission to the mysterious planet. But for the first time, humans had a chance to prove themselves on a stage far beyond Earth. Ethan stepped forward, feeling a mix of anticipation and calm determination. He had not stood for tradition, but now he would stand for discovery, for innovation, and for the unique strengths of his species. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Soon that would change. The doors of the council hall closed behind him, and the journey into the unknown began. The next day, the council reconvened, but this time the atmosphere was tense. Delegates whispered to one another, exchanging glances filled with curiosity and skepticism. Everyone wanted to see what the human, Ethan Carter, would do next. After all, it was one thing to speak boldly in the Grand Hall, but it was another to actually lead a mission where the stakes could affect entire species. Ethan, dressed in a simple yet functional uniform, stood near the front with his small team. They were a mix of humans trained in engineering, biology, and exploration. Their spacecraft was compact compared to the alien fleets, but Ethan had chosen simplicity and adaptability over sheer size and power. The alien Empress entered the council chamber, her robes shimmering as she glided forward. Her eyes, sharp and observant, fixed on Ethan and his delegation. A soft murmur ran through the hall, but unlike the first day, no one doubted that the mission was serious. "Delegates," the Empress began, her voice calm but commanding, "we have discussed this planet extensively. Many of our best scientists, engineers, and fleets have failed to stabilize it. The planet's resources are abundant, yet uncontrollable natural phenomena prevent any long-term presence. I am giving a human delegation the opportunity to attempt what others could not. I expect results, or at least valuable observations. Fail, and your species may never gain trust in future council missions." Ethan's heart did not race. He had faced challenges before, but this was different. It was not only about exploration, but about proving the value of human perspective in the galaxy. He knew humans were underestimated, yet they had qualities no other species possessed: creativity, intuition, and adaptability. He stepped forward and spoke clearly. "Your Majesty, we will approach this mission with patience and observation. Instead of imposing technology immediately, we will first understand the planet. Its ecosystems, energy patterns, and life forms must guide our decisions. Only then can we act effectively." The Empress's eyes narrowed slightly. She appreciated boldness, but she also knew that words were easy. "Your approach is unconventional," she said. "Other species rely on calculations, machines, and precision. Why do you believe observation and adaptation will succeed where advanced technology has failed?" Ethan smiled lightly. "Machines follow rules. Calculations can only predict known variables. This planet contains unknown variables that machines cannot account for. Humans are capable of noticing patterns and improvising when circumstances change unexpectedly. We will combine careful observation with flexible technology, adapting as we learn." Several delegates gasped. A tall, armored representative from the mining world spoke loudly. "Observation, improvisation, this is dangerous. You risk wasting resources and endangering lives. Only precision and power guarantee success." Ethan met his gaze evenly. "And only understanding guarantees sustainable success. Power alone will not solve this planet's mysteries." The Empress regarded him quietly, then nodded. "Very well, you may proceed. I grant your delegation a small spacecraft equipped for exploration and adaptability. You may depart immediately. Your mission is to report back with solutions, or at least with knowledge that others may use. Begin." Ethan's team moved quickly but calmly. Supplies were loaded, systems checked, and data modules prepared. Unlike the alien fleets, which relied on automated protocols, Ethan emphasized human judgment at every step. Every decision would require discussion, observation, and reasoning. As they approached the planet, the first challenges became apparent. The atmosphere was unpredictable, with winds that changed suddenly, magnetic storms that interfered with instruments, and odd energy fluctuations that disrupted machinery. Alien fleets had failed here because their rigid systems could not adapt to the planet's volatility. Ethan's team observed quietly. Sensors recorded patterns, but humans relied also on intuition and experience. They noticed subtle signs: the way certain plants bent with the energy waves, how rock formations aligned with magnetic currents, and how indigenous life forms moved to avoid dangers. "See," Ethan said to his team, "the planet is not chaotic, it has rules. We just need to understand them before we act." Days passed. The human delegation moved carefully, building temporary shelters that adapted to environmental changes rather than imposing rigid structures. While alien simulations had assumed the planet could be conquered by force, Ethan's team worked with the planet, not against it. One morning, the team discovered a network of glowing crystals embedded in the mountains. Sensors indicated they were a natural source of energy, but their behavior was unusual. Any attempt to extract energy too quickly caused local disturbances, while slower interaction allowed balance to be maintained. "This is incredible," said Dr. Marla Hayes, a human biologist. "The planet provides energy, but only if we respect its rhythm." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. This is what others missed. Machines do not understand rhythm or balance. Humans can adapt in real time." Meanwhile, news of the mission reached the Interstellar Council. Many delegates watched remotely, astonished at the human team's progress. They had expected failure or at least slow progress. Instead, humans were achieving results where others had failed. The Empress herself observed quietly, noting every detail. She admired the human qualities displayed: creativity, calm judgment under pressure, teamwork, and the ability to improvise. For centuries, her empire had valued precision and hierarchy above all. Here was a species that approached challenges differently, and it worked. One day, as the team navigated a dense forest, they encountered life forms unlike anything previously recorded. They were intelligent, cautious, and appeared to communicate through subtle changes in light and color. Alien fleets would have attempted to capture or control them. Humans, however, observed. They waited, studied, and learned. Slowly, the life forms trusted the humans enough to reveal patterns of the environment. "This planet is teaching us," Ethan said softly. Not just about resources or energy, but about life, balance, and cooperation. If we impose control too early, we risk destroying everything. Dr. Hayes smiled. Humans understand respect in ways others often forget. We do not need to dominate to succeed. The mission continued. They mapped hazardous zones, learned to predict energy surges, and discovered ways to build temporary structures that harmonized with the environment. Unlike alien attempts that relied on brute force, humans relied on observation, intelligence, and teamwork. After weeks of careful study, the team reached the planet's largest energy crystal formation. Previous attempts by alien fleets to harness it had failed, causing local storms and system collapses. Ethan observed quietly, analyzing the patterns of light and energy pulses. Wait, he said, studying a subtle rhythm in the crystal pulses. We cannot take energy too quickly. We must synchronize with the planet's natural cycle, then it will provide power safely. His team adjusted their instruments and followed his instructions. Slowly, energy flowed smoothly, providing power without disturbances. The planet, in effect, had accepted the humans' presence. This is extraordinary, Dr. Hayes said. The planet responds to us not just mechanically, but almost willingly. It's like it understands we are learning, not forcing. Ethan nodded. Other species failed because they tried to force solutions. We adapted. That is the difference. Back at the council, reports of the human delegation's progress spread quickly. Aliens watched in disbelief as humans navigated challenges that had defeated advanced fleets. Some were inspired, others skeptical, but none could deny that humans were achieving something remarkable. The Empress herself was quiet, reflecting. She had given the humans a chance not because she doubted her empire, but because she sensed something unique in them. Humans saw the world differently. They valued understanding over dominance, curiosity over fear, and creativity over rigid tradition. These qualities, so ordinary to humans, were extraordinary to the galaxy. As the mission neared its end, Ethan and his team made one final observation. They discovered that the planet's energy could be harnessed safely, not by extracting it, but by cooperating with it. The solution required careful observation, patience, and intuition, all traits humans excelled at. Ethan looked at his team, pride and calm determination in his eyes. We have succeeded not by fighting the planet, but by learning from it. This is the human way. We respect, we observe, and we adapt, and that is why we have achieved what others could not. The human team prepared to return to the council, bringing with them not just energy samples and maps, but knowledge, strategies, and proof of their unique abilities. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were not ordinary. They were innovators, problem solvers, and pioneers. The Empress would see for herself, and the council would finally understand why one human had not stood on the first day. It was not disrespect. It was observation, understanding, and the quiet confidence that humans carried into every challenge. Ethan smiled, looking out at the stars from the spacecraft window. The journey had been difficult, but it had proven something important. Humans could face the unknown, think differently, and succeed where others failed. And this was only the beginning. The human team had returned to the planet after their initial observations, ready to explore deeper and solve the puzzles that had defeated so many others. Ethan Carter, their leader, knew that the success of this mission would depend not just on technology, but on human creativity and adaptability. The alien fleets had relied on precision, rules, and machines. Humans, however, had something different, the ability to improvise, learn, and adapt in real time. As their spacecraft landed near a crystalline forest, the team stepped out into a landscape unlike anything they had ever seen. Towering crystals reflected the light of the nearby sun, scattering it in colors that shimmered like rainbows. The ground pulsed faintly with energy, and soft hums resonated through the air, almost like the planet itself was alive. "This place is incredible," said Dr. Marla Hayes, the team's biologist. She knelt to examine a cluster of glowing plants. These crystals seem to interact with living organisms. The energy they emit could be dangerous if handled incorrectly. Ethan nodded. Exactly why we must observe first. Let's see how the planet responds to our presence. Nothing should be touched until we understand it fully. The team set up a temporary base, using lightweight materials that could flex and move with environmental changes. While alien species would have attempted to build permanent structures immediately, humans adapted their technology to the planet, rather than forcing the planet to adapt to them. Over the next several days, the humans conducted careful studies. They observed the energy flows, noting patterns that shifted depending on time, weather, and nearby life forms. They discovered that certain plants and small creatures moved in sync with these patterns. These observations allowed the team to plan their activities safely, avoiding energy surges and environmental hazards. One morning, as Ethan explored a nearby valley, he noticed something curious. A series of small, floating orbs hovered near the edge of a crystal lake. They were semi-transparent, glowing faintly and moving in a slow, deliberate rhythm. Life forms, he whispered to himself, and intelligent ones by the way they move. The team gathered cautiously. The orbs appeared to respond to sound and motion, but not with aggression. Instead, they seemed curious, moving closer when the humans remained calm and backing away when the humans made sudden movements. "This is remarkable," said Dr. Hayes. "No species we know has this level of interaction with energy-based life forms. They are intelligent yet peaceful." Ethan studied the orbs carefully. "We need to communicate, not control. Let's try observing them for patterns, learning how they respond to our presence. Force would only harm the relationship and the mission." For several days, the humans followed a careful routine. They mirrored the movements of the orbs, adjusted their work schedules to align with energy pulses, and even modified their equipment to harmonize with the planet's rhythms. Slowly, the orbs began to approach more closely, allowing the humans to record data safely and accurately. Meanwhile, the humans discovered another crucial feature of the planet: energy conduits running beneath the surface. These conduits carried energy from crystal formations to lakes, forests, and mountains, creating a network that connected the entire ecosystem. Alien fleets had failed because they tried to extract energy directly from the crystals without understanding these connections. Their machines had disrupted the flow, causing storms, malfunctions, and even minor quakes. Ethan addressed the team. "We cannot take energy directly. We must work with the natural conduits. If we tap into the flow carefully, we can harness energy without disturbing the planet." Engineers adjusted their instruments. Using small, flexible conduits, they connected with the planet's energy system, monitoring the flow and ensuring that nothing was overloaded. Slowly, they began to harness small amounts of power safely. "This is brilliant," said Lieutenant Jason Park, the team's engineer. "Other species would have tried to force it all at once. We're succeeding because we adapt instead of dominate." Ethan smiled. "That's the human advantage. Machines and rules have limits. Observation and creativity have none." Word of the human delegation's success traveled fast through the galaxy. Alien observers watching remotely were astonished. Many had expected failure or at least slow progress. Instead, humans were achieving solutions without destroying the environment or provoking the planet's energy. Some were skeptical, others inspired, but all were paying attention. As the team continued their work, a sudden challenge arose. A storm of energy surged through the valley, stronger than anything they had encountered before. Lights flickered, instruments went haywire, and the floating orbs scattered in panic. The alien fleets would have retreated, unsure how to control the storm. Ethan stayed calm. "Everyone follow the patterns. Observe, don't react. The storm has its rhythm, we just need to move with it." The team adjusted their movements, using temporary shields to redirect energy without blocking it entirely. They synchronized their equipment to the planet's pulses, and gradually the storm's intensity lessened. The orbs returned, floating gently around the humans. Dr. Hayes looked at Ethan in admiration. "You didn't panic. You read the storm like a human would read a tide." "That's incredible," Ethan nodded. "We can't control nature, only understand it. Once we respect its rules, we can succeed." Later, as the storm passed, the team discovered another surprise. A previously hidden structure emerged from beneath the crystals, a formation shaped almost like a temple, constructed entirely of energy and crystal. It hummed with life, responding to the planet's rhythms and energy conduits. "This must be the planet's natural core," said Dr. Hayes. "It's incredible. The planet itself created something functional, almost intelligent." Ethan approached carefully, observing the patterns of light and energy. "The key to interacting with this planet is not force, but harmony. If we align with it, we can achieve more than we imagined." The team spent the next days exploring the Crystal Temple, mapping energy flows and understanding how the planet's systems connected. They discovered ways to harness energy safely, improve communication with life forms, and predict environmental changes. Each success was a result of human ingenuity, observation, and adaptability. Meanwhile, back at the council, alien delegates followed their progress with awe. Some species began to realize that humans were not just physically weak or technologically simple. They were creative problem solvers, capable of thinking in ways others could not. The Empress observed silently, noting every detail. She had granted the humans this opportunity not because she doubted her empire, but because she recognized something unique in them. Humans saw possibilities where others saw problems. They acted with patience, understanding, and courage. These qualities, so ordinary to humans, were extraordinary to the galaxy. As the human team prepared for the final stage of their mission, Ethan addressed his crew. "We have learned much from this planet. It teaches us that force and precision are not always the answer. Observation, respect, and adaptability are equally powerful. We must continue to approach each challenge with an open mind." The team nodded. They had faced storms, energy surges, and intelligent life forms. They had adapted, learned, and succeeded. Every obstacle had proven the same lesson. Humans excelled when they combined creativity, observation, and teamwork. Finally, the team reached a vantage point overlooking the planet's central energy hub. The crystal temple pulsed with light, surrounded by forests, lakes, and valleys, all connected in a delicate network. Previous attempts to harness this energy had failed catastrophically, but humans had succeeded. They had not forced the planet, they had worked with it. Ethan looked at the scene with quiet pride. "This is what humans can do. We don't just conquer, we understand. We don't just act, we think. And we don't just survive, we innovate." Dr. Hayes smiled. "And now the galaxy will see it." As the human delegation prepared to send their final report to the council, the Empress received the updates firsthand. She was silent for a long moment, studying the data, the images, and the patterns of success. Then she spoke softly to her aides. "Humans, they are remarkable. Their approach is unlike anything I have seen. They observe, they adapt, they think beyond rules and systems. This is why the human did not stand on the first day. He sees differently, he acts differently, and it works." Ethan and his team had not only succeeded, they had proved the value of human ingenuity, creativity, and patience. They had turned what seemed impossible into reality, not by force, but by intelligence, observation, and respect. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were no ordinary species. They were pioneers, problem solvers, and innovators, capable of achieving the extraordinary through the simple yet powerful combination of thought, action, and imagination. And this was only the beginning. After weeks of careful observation and exploration, Ethan Carter and his team had mapped nearly the entire planet. They understood its energy flows, its life forms, and its unique patterns. Yet one final challenge remained: to unlock the full potential of the planet's resources without causing harm or instability. Ethan stood on a cliff overlooking the central crystal formation, the heart of the planet's energy network. The crystals pulsed rhythmically, sending waves of light through valleys and forests below. The floating orbs, the intelligent energy life forms, hovered nearby, their light flickering gently in response to the humans' movements. "This is it," Ethan said softly to his team. "We've learned the rules. Now we need to apply them. Not with force, not with machines alone, but with understanding and coordination. If we succeed, it will show the galaxy what humans are capable of." Dr. Marla Hayes examined the data they had collected. "The energy flows here are delicate. Any sudden change could disrupt the entire system. But if we follow the rhythms we've observed, we can safely integrate our technology and harness the energy." Lieutenant Jason Park nodded. "It's amazing. Other species would have tried to take control, but we're working with the planet. That's why we're succeeding." Ethan smiled. "Exactly. Observation, patience, and adaptability. That's human ingenuity in action." The team began the delicate process. Using flexible conduits and adaptive shields, they aligned their equipment with the planet's natural pulses. Every step was synchronized to the rhythms they had recorded over weeks of study. Every adjustment was made with careful observation, not guesswork. Hours passed. The planet's energy flowed into their systems smoothly, without storms or disruptions. The intelligent orbs and other life forms moved freely, unaffected by the human activity. It was a success unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "This is incredible," Dr. Hayes whispered. "We're not just extracting energy, we're collaborating with the planet. It responds to us." Ethan nodded. "And that is the human difference. We don't force, we adapt. We don't dominate, we cooperate. That is why we are succeeding where others have failed." As they worked, Ethan reflected on the lessons they had learned. The aliens had relied on force, machines, and rigid procedures. Humans relied on thought, creativity, and intuition. Machines alone could not solve the problems this planet presented. Only human understanding, a combination of observation, adaptation, and respect, had unlocked the solution. Once the systems were fully integrated and stable, Ethan prepared a comprehensive report for the Council. It detailed their methods, the planet's rhythms, and the importance of working with rather than against the environment. The report emphasized human strengths, innovation, flexibility, observation, and teamwork. Meanwhile, the Empress received the preliminary data remotely. She studied the human team's success carefully. For the first time in her long reign, she realized something profound. Humans were not merely a new species in the galaxy, they were unique. They saw the world differently, acted differently, and succeeded where others had failed. She summoned her aides and spoke quietly, almost to herself. "Humans, they are remarkable. They observe, they adapt, they respect life and systems. This is why the human did not stand on the first day. He sees differently, he acts differently, and it works." Back on the planet, Ethan and his team continued to fine-tune their systems. They discovered subtle interactions between the crystals and the life forms that no previous explorers had noticed. The floating orbs seemed to respond to human presence, adjusting energy flows in subtle ways. The humans had not only harnessed energy, they had become part of the planet's ecosystem, working in harmony rather than against it. "This is what I wanted to show," Ethan said quietly. "Humans can solve problems that seem impossible. We don't rely on power alone. We rely on thought, observation, and creativity. That is our strength." As the team prepared to return to the Council with their findings, they realized another important lesson. The galaxy had underestimated humans. Many species saw them as weak, inexperienced, or technologically inferior. Yet humans had demonstrated something no machine, formula, or rigid procedure could achieve: intuition, innovation, and adaptability in real-world challenges. Ethan sent the final report to the Council. It included maps, energy flow diagrams, and a detailed explanation of their approach. More importantly, it conveyed the human philosophy: to respect, observe, and adapt before attempting control or domination. When the report reached the Empress, she called a private session with the Council. Delegates gathered, curious and anxious. Ethan's name and achievements had already reached them, but they were eager to hear the full story. The Empress addressed the Council. "The human delegation has completed its mission successfully. Unlike previous attempts, they did not rely solely on force, technology, or calculations. They observed, adapted, and collaborated with the planet. Their approach ensured stability, safety, and sustainable energy use." Gasps filled the room. Aliens who had attempted the mission before nodded slowly, realizing the truth in her words. The humans had succeeded not because of strength or superior technology, but because of qualities often overlooked: patience, observation, creativity, and intuition. The Empress continued, her eyes sweeping the Council. "Humans are a species unlike any other. They are capable of understanding and solving problems in ways that no machine, formula, or procedure can match. Their approach is not bound by tradition or expectation, yet it produces results that surpass all others." Whispers filled the chamber. Some delegates were impressed, others skeptical, but none could deny the success. The Empress's words had given humans recognition that few species received in their first missions. Finally, the Empress turned to Ethan, who had been observing quietly from the back of the chamber. She regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "You did not stand when I entered the hall," she said. "Many saw it as disrespect, yet I understand now. You were observing, judging, and thinking. You saw what others could not, and your actions proved your worth." Ethan bowed slightly, not as a gesture of submission, but as acknowledgement of her words. "Your Majesty, I only acted as I thought best. Respect is not always shown by standing. Sometimes it is shown through understanding, patience, and careful action." The Empress's eyes softened. "Indeed, Your species has much to teach the galaxy. Perhaps it is time that we observe humans more closely. The council erupted into quiet murmurs. Humans had never been regarded as equals among so many advanced species. Yet here they were, demonstrating qualities that others could not replicate. Their success was not just a mission, it was a statement. Humans were creative, observant, and capable of solutions that surpassed expectation. Ethan's team returned to their spacecraft, satisfied with the work they had done. They had proven their methods, their philosophy, and the unique strengths of their species. The mission was a success, not only in achieving its immediate goals, but in demonstrating the value of human ingenuity and perspective. As the spacecraft lifted off, Ethan looked back at the planet, glowing softly under the light of the distant sun. He reflected on everything they had learned: patience, observation, adaptability, and respect. These were the qualities that had allowed humans to succeed where others had failed. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly to his team. "The galaxy now knows a little more about humans, but there is still much to learn, much to explore, and many more challenges ahead." The floating orbs watched the humans depart, their light flickering as if in acknowledgement. The planet, alive with energy and life, had accepted the humans' presence. For the first time, it seemed as if humans were part of its system, not intruders. Ethan felt a quiet sense of pride. He had not stood for tradition, yet he had earned respect through action, thought, and understanding. The galaxy had underestimated humans, but now humans had proven their worth. And the most surprising revelation of all was not just for the Council or the alien empires. It was for everyone watching the human race. Humans were different, capable, and extraordinary. Their success came not from force, speed, or brute power, but from the very qualities that defined them: observation, creativity, and the courage to act differently. As the spacecraft headed back toward the Interstellar Council, Ethan knew that the next step would be crucial. The Empress herself would witness the full results, and the Council would see humans as more than a new species. They would see them as pioneers, thinkers, and problem solvers. The galaxy was beginning to understand why humans had not stood on the first day. It was not disrespect. It was insight, clarity, and the quiet confidence of a species that could face the impossible and succeed. Ethan Carter smiled as he looked at his team. They had proven themselves, and in doing so, they had shown the universe the true potential of humanity. The spacecraft descended slowly toward the Interstellar Council's main chamber. Ethan Carter and his team had completed their mission successfully. They carried data, energy samples, and maps, but more importantly, they carried proof of human ingenuity and adaptability. For weeks, the galaxy had watched humans operate in ways that were different, creative, and effective. Now it was time for the Council to witness it in person. As the spacecraft landed, a crowd had gathered in anticipation. Delegates from dozens of worlds whispered to one another, their curiosity mixed with excitement and disbelief. Even the most skeptical were eager to see the humans who had succeeded where advanced fleets had failed. Ethan led his team out of the spacecraft calmly. His uniform was simple, his movements deliberate, yet there was a quiet confidence in his eyes. This was not arrogance, it was assurance born from competence and careful planning. The alien Empress entered the chamber. Delegates rose automatically as tradition demanded. But this time it was not fear that filled the room, it was anticipation. They were waiting to see how the humans would be received. Ethan did not bow or kneel. Instead, he stood straight, hands at his sides, and met the Empress's gaze with calm determination. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then the Empress spoke, her voice carrying authority and admiration. "You have returned successfully," she said. "Your mission was not easy, yet you have achieved results that others deemed impossible. You did not rely solely on technology, force, or rigid procedures. Instead, you observed, adapted, and collaborated with the planet. That is the human way, and it has proven effective." Gasps of amazement spread through the chamber. Delegates from alien worlds, many of whom had attempted this mission before, exchanged surprised glances. Humans had succeeded without domination, without machines controlling every move. They had succeeded through creativity, observation, and teamwork. One of the council delegates, a tall, crystalline being, spoke hesitantly. "But how?" "Our fleets failed even with advanced technology and careful planning. Humans succeeded." Ethan stepped forward. We did not succeed by force. We studied the planet, observed its patterns, and adapted our actions accordingly. Machines and rigid procedures have limits. Humans think, observe, and respond. That is what made the difference. The Empress nodded. Indeed, this is why humans are extraordinary. They see challenges differently and find solutions others cannot. Their methods may seem unconventional, but they work. They teach us that understanding is as powerful as strength. The council murmured in agreement. Slowly, delegates began to rise and approach the humans, some with curiosity, some with admiration. They asked questions, took notes, and expressed amazement at the humans' approach. Ethan's team demonstrated their methods, explaining how they had adapted to energy flows, communicated indirectly with life forms, and safely harnessed resources. The delegates listened intently, taking in details that many of them had overlooked. Dr. Marla Hayes spoke with clarity and confidence. The planet's energy system is delicate. We worked with it, not against it. Every step was based on observation and understanding. That is why our approach succeeded. Lieutenant Jason Park added, we adapted as we learned. When the planet changed, we changed. Machines alone cannot do that. Humans can. The council listened in awe. They realized that the humans' success was not just about completing a mission. It was about demonstrating a new philosophy of exploration. Patience, creativity, observation, and adaptability had proven more powerful than force, rules, or rigid structure. The Empress stood and addressed the council again. Humans are now recognized as equals among the interstellar community. Their methods and results have set a new standard. We will study their approach and learn from it, as they have taught us valuable lessons about observation, adaptability, and problem-solving. Ethan felt a quiet sense of pride. He had not bowed on the first day, but he had earned the respect of the Empress and the entire council through action and results. His decision to stand, to observe, and to act with careful thought had not been disrespect. It had been insight, and the outcome spoke for itself. One by one, delegates approached him personally. They asked questions about his team's methods, how they had anticipated the planet's energy flows, and how humans had adapted so effectively. Some asked for training or collaboration, hoping to learn the human approach. Others nodded in silent acknowledgement, recognizing the unique qualities that humans brought to the galaxy. The Empress herself walked toward Ethan. She regarded him with a mix of curiosity and respect. You did not stand when I first arrived, she said quietly, but now I understand why. You observed, judged, and acted with clarity. You saw the world as it is, not as tradition dictates. That is rare, even among the most advanced species. Ethan bowed lightly, a gesture of acknowledgement rather than submission. Thank you, Your Majesty. Respect is more than appearances. It is understanding, patience, and thoughtful action. The Empress smiled. Humans have much to teach us. I believe this is only the beginning of their contributions to the galaxy. The council erupted in applause. It was not a ceremonial gesture, it was genuine recognition. Humans had earned their place not through fear, wealth, or power, but through intellect, creativity, and courage. They had shown the galaxy that success did not always come from force or tradition, but from thought, observation, and adaptability. Later, in a private meeting with her aides, the Empress reflected on the humans' accomplishments. They are different, she said softly. Not stronger, not faster, not more advanced in technology, but capable of thinking in ways others cannot. They challenge assumptions, see possibilities, and find solutions where none existed before. This is why the human did not rise when I entered the hall. He saw beyond the ritual. He acted wisely, and now the galaxy must see humans as they truly are. Back on the human spacecraft, Ethan's team celebrated quietly. They had completed a mission that had seemed impossible. More importantly, they had proven the value of human creativity, ingenuity, and observation. Dr. Hayes looked around the team and said, we didn't just succeed for ourselves. We succeeded for humans everywhere. We've shown that our species has unique strengths, ones that the galaxy can respect and rely upon. Jason Park added, and we did it by thinking differently, not by trying to be like everyone else. That's the power of humans. That's why we succeed. Ethan smiled. Exactly. We do not have the biggest fleets or the most advanced machines. But we have minds that can adapt, learn, and create. That is what sets humans apart, and the galaxy is finally noticing. As the spacecraft left the council chamber and traveled toward the human homeworld, the team looked out at the stars. Each star represented a world, a challenge, and a new opportunity. Humans had only just begun to prove themselves, yet their success had already changed perceptions. Ethan reflected on the journey. The initial decision not to stand in the council hall had caused whispers, doubt, and even suspicion. But the actions that followed, careful observation, thoughtful planning, and collaboration, had demonstrated what humans could achieve. It was a lesson that would resonate across galaxies. Respect is shown through understanding and action, not just ritual. When they returned to Earth, humans celebrated quietly, knowing that their place in the galaxy had been secured through competence, innovation, and courage. Other species would no longer underestimate them. Humans had proven that they were thinkers, explorers, and problem solvers capable of facing challenges beyond imagination. Ethan Carter stood on the balcony of the mission headquarters, looking at the horizon. The sun was setting, casting golden light across Earth's oceans and forests. He felt a quiet pride, not in himself alone, but in the human species as a whole. Humans had always been underestimated, yet they had qualities that could change the course of history, even on a galactic scale. "This is just the beginning," he said to himself. "The galaxy will see what humans can do. And we will continue to rise, not by force, but by thinking, observing, and creating." The story of the humans' mission would spread across the stars. Other species would remember how a small, underestimated delegation had solved a problem that had defeated fleets, machines, and advanced technologies. They would remember human ingenuity, creativity, and adaptability. And most importantly, they would remember the day when one human had refused to stand, not out of disrespect, but because he understood something others did not. True respect is shown through understanding, wisdom, and action. Ethan smiled again, confident in the future. Humans had proven themselves, and now the galaxy would never underestimate them again.